Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and you're not. Oh my God, this intro was written by Ross the Boss, and now he says I'm here with the always good-looking Ross the Boss. But most importantly, our guest today is three-time All-Pro linebacker. His podcast is available everywhere. It's Lights Out with Shawne Merriman. It highlights Lights Out extreme fighting. Let's welcome to the show, Shawne Merriman.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
It is great to see you, Shawn. We are pleased to have you here. I see you got your backdrop all ready to talk about everything you're ready to talk about. So how did you get the nickname Lights Out?
So my sophomore year in high school, I knocked out 4 kids in one game. And so after the game, I had about 20 or 25 students come running up to me and they said, "Hey, you knocked these guys." You said, "You knocked these guys lights out." And I said, "Yeah, call me Lights Out." No idea it was going to stick like that or whatever. I got to school Monday and I walk into class and like people are kind of patting me on the back and, say, "Hey, calling me Lights." And so the name stuck with me since I was 16 years old.
So you were a sophomore, you were playing varsity, kind of like what I did. And you were hitting I assume you were hitting running backs and wide receivers, correct? I mean, you were playing linebacker.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And back then I was playing off the line of scrimmage. So I had to run and start. So it's different when you pass rushing, you can't hit people like how you want to. Well, if you're playing middle linebacker, you can do as much as you want.
So you were actually knocking out wide receivers and running backs, and they were knocked out completely. I mean, you're talking about lights out.
Anybody who my helmet or my shoulder pads contacted, they were knocked out.
Well, you are a good sign of why I never played football. I mean, I played with my friends, but I'm not going to meet Shawne Merriman up the middle. So you played 8 seasons, and you retired at age 28. So tell us why so early? Why were you ready then?
Well, first I had the knee injury in 2008. I blew my knee out, and then I came back. I felt good after that, but my Achilles, a year and a half later, I blew my Achilles out. And so the knee wasn't as bad, to be honest. It sounded gruesome, but the Achilles is the one that ultimately got me to retire early. I came back, I played another 2 years in Buffalo, but I was never the same.
Yeah. And do you miss not playing? I mean, is it hard for you to turn on a football game on a Sunday and watch guys play football like when you were like in your early 30s or even late 20s?
The first year or two, yeah, for sure. 100%. Because you mentally are still out there, and then physically you feel like you can still go and play. So I had plenty of things to do. I was, doing my commentating thing. I was training. I had, my clothing line, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same thing as running out to 70,000 people. So for me, it took, I'll tell every athlete when they retire, soon as you get done, go do something else right away. Don't sit around. Don't go, 6 months on family vacations, and go find something to do right away, because you get bored. You're missing that whistle, that is practice, workouts, that whole regimen is gone.
Yeah, it seems like it would be too big of a drop-off to go from playing in front of 70,000 people to nothing. That's just too hard. Now, let me ask you something. We're a sports network, but we also talk fantasy sports. Do you play fantasy football?
Nope, not really. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. So, I told you the knee injury in 2008, and I'm more into fantasy now. I don't play it as much, but I'm more open to it now, than I ever have been. 2008, we had a game. I tore my knee, so I'm playing on 2 torn ligaments. I'm limping across the parking lot, and I had a fan to come over. He kind of hopped a little gate. I signed an autograph, but he was mad at me because the defense didn't play well because of fantasy. And I was like, dude, my knee is the size of my head, and I'm limping across the parking lot just on a torn knee, and you're mad about your fantasy league. At that point, I didn't play fantasy for years. Not until about 3-4 years ago, I actually started to get into it.
I've seen people at restaurants go up to players in all sports and say, you destroyed me because my fantasy league, you didn't score any points, or you didn't score a touchdown, or you didn't rush for 100 yards. I mean, it's amazing how people have the balls to even go up to ball players and say that kind of stuff. It's unbelievable.
It's completely crazy.
But you know what? It's the reason why the game is as big as it is today, to be quite honest. I mean, obviously, the sports betting and stuff, yeah, but the fantasy, what else do you do to get the fans closer to the players? And that was the closest thing.
I'm all for it, but at the same time, people do have to realize you're real people out there, and when you get hurt, it actually hurts you, and then they're like, "Oh, you lost my fantasy team."
And you actually played with Phillip Rivers. He was your quarterback, and he actually just retired a couple years ago. I mean, did you consult with him, or did you talk to him when he was going to retire? Was there any communication between you and Phillip Rivers at all?
Yeah, but we always knew that he was going to coach. Like I've known he's been talking about that since like the mid 2000s, that he was going to coach, and he was coaching all of his kids. Got a lot of those.
Yeah, I got 10.
So he was coaching, was coaching all of his kids, and he was a coach on the field, he was a coach in the locker room. We always knew that Phillip Rivers was going to coach, and nobody was shocked that he's coaching high school now.
Now, I read and also saw an interview with you, talked about Tom Brady. And I know you're not a big Patriots fan. Either am I, so no worries. We're on the same team here.
And neither am I. We're all on the same page.
Oh, good. You know what? This turned out to be one of my best.
Okay, good. So and we're also not big Raider fans either. So no worries.
Oh, God, I feel right at home. You guys.
There you go. I'm stroking you as much as I can here. So I know you mentioned about Tom Brady. You played against him 4 times. You're 2-2. Not bad for a team that was the dynasty team during then. But you mentioned he had some weird noises. Tell me exactly what happened, and just tell everybody that's listening what happened with Tom Brady.
Well, I always rate the quarterbacks when you hit them, and they all got different noises or reactions that they do after they get hit. And Tom Brady's was a little like he had like a grunt, like he was like a whine grunt. It was pretty good. And then they get up and look at you like you're not supposed to hit him, so that was even better.
Oh yeah, he thinks he's when I play football, I'm sure when you play football, the quarterbacks always wore a gold jersey because they're gold and you're not allowed to hit them. But I mean, I felt Brady feels like that the whole time. He feels no one should touch him. He's on he's on a level of nobody else, and he doesn't understand that you guys get paid a lot of money to hurt him.
Now, Shawn, when you guys were playing, were the Patriots the most hated team among players? I mean, I think among fans, they really often are because they just, you win that much.
I think it was both fans and players. The only people that love the Patriots are the people up there in New England, in Boston. That was it. I mean, that was, if you looked at the map geographically of the teams, the people that hated the Patriots, it was like everybody except for that area up there in the Northeast. So, I mean, you can look at it a couple different ways. They're great teams. They won championships. You hate them for that reasons, or the other reasons of Spygate, this gate, whatever it turned. So they have many reasons. I mean, but you can't hate Tom Brady as the player. Like I don't like him as like an opponent, but I never disliked him because he's still the greatest quarterback of all time.
He really is the GOAT. I mean, you're 100% right. And did you see him when he went to the White House recently? He went to the White House and he was actually cracking jokes at Biden. I mean, it wasn't really attacking, but he was making jokes, and a lot of people didn't. A lot of people were kind of upset about it. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun, but again, some people don't have a sense of humor like me. But there you go.
Honestly, this Tom Brady has been around for the last year or two I like better. It's almost like he couldn't really do anything up there in New England. Like he was so straight edge. He never talked, he never cracked jokes. He's going at people on social media now and he's pissy drunk after they won a championship. He has to get walked out like a 6-year-old kid, So this Tom Brady feels a little bit different.
I agree. I think he's losing up a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what player right now playing would you say is a player you like to watch play defense? If you had to watch a player play the whole 60 minutes, which one would it be?
I mean, I would say Aaron Donald's number one, right? I mean, he's just at that position, and the havoc he causes for other teams is not supposed to be that way. I mean, I played with Jamal Williams. I played with Cal Williams. I played with some great D tackles, and to do what he's doing at that position to cause that much disruption is just unheard of. The second one I would say is Khalil Mack. I love watching Khalil Mack, and if anybody was to make any kind of comparison of the way I played, it would be him. I mean, he's just all around. He's a beast. He can cover guys out the backfield, cover tight ends. He requires double teams at all point in time. I mean, he's on another level.
What do you think about Myles Garrett? I'm a Browns fan, so I had to ask.
Yeah, I mean, he's a freak of nature, man. I mean, it's funny because I've been saying this for the last, few years or so. When, I've seen him in person several times. I'm like, man, this dude is a freakish athlete, like just freakish. And that's coming from, somebody, I'm 6'4", 265, and I ran a, 4.58, 4.60 in the 40. But he's like a different kind of like athlete because he's very lateral, east and west. He can move at a DN position, at a D tackle position. I was never capable of doing that. I was a strictly outside linebacker and a pass rusher. But him, you can just put him all over the field.
Let me ask another question about, you were a very versatile player. I'm wondering though, when you lined up, when you were watching the quarterback's eyes and things like that, what were the things that helped you read the defense? Read the offense and know what was coming? Because that's got to be a big part of the game.
Oh, I would. I mean, obviously, then the down and distance and those things like that, you'll look at how much time left in the game. But every quarterback gives keys. I mean, even when they try not to hide them, man. I don't care if their feet are flat. For example, Tom Brady. When he was running and passing the ball, especially within 10 yards. If he was passing the ball, he would have his feet a little bit more flat. If he was running, he would have it a little bit. If they were running the ball, he would have his feet cocked back a little bit. Peyton Manning always dropped his fingers in between his legs before every snap on which down to give the center, because they ran a lot of shotgun. So I can go on and on about 15 or 20 different quarterbacks I've seen over my career that I could pick up on film and knew exactly what they were doing. Not play, but, whether it was going to be a run, a pass, or what.
Well, it sounds like you're a cerebral guy too. You were strong and fast, but also reading the defenses. Now, you're not playing football anymore, but you're now involved in MMA. I'm wondering if you can tell us about that, your latest endeavor.
Yeah, so Lights Out Extreme Fighting, we're back August 7th at the Commerce Casino. You can check us out at lightsoutxf.com. And I've been around MMA for 16 years, man. I actually started, I wanted to get better with my hands. Being an outside linebacker and a pass rusher, I was told, like, hey, you need to get more violent with your hands. I said, okay, well, show me. So I went to go train. First day out, I trained with Randy Couture. Wow. I've been in there with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, all these guys. I've been around for a very long time. And I just gravitated to the sport. There's a lot of similarities with football and MMA. And I noticed that over the course of the years. So I just picked up that discipline. I just started to learn jiu-jitsu a little bit over the past couple of years and being on the ground a little bit more. I still spar, once every few weeks with a lot of the fighters. And it's fun for me. It's, I really enjoy it, man. I tell any former athlete they should look to pick up some form of mixed martial arts or some kind of combat sports when they're done.
Have you fought Jay Glazer? I know he's...
So Jay's the one who got me in.
Oh, Jay did it. Okay, so
the first day,
with Jim.
The first day in 2006, I walked into the gym. Jay gave me the address. He said, "Come by the gym. We're gonna work on some stuff." He had a couple other MMA guys in there. I walked in. Jay Glazer on the right. Randy Couture was on the left. So I'm looking at Jay like, "Hey, I'm not sparring Randy Couture today. That shit's just not gonna happen, right?" So, I was like, but it was very humbling for me because, being a big, strong guy and really good at doing something else and coming back in and having to learn, and having, I don't know what Randy wore at that time, a 205 or something like this, but I got him by 60 pounds, but how he was able to kind of use his leverage and toss me around, that intrigued me to pick up and learn a little bit more.
Have you fought in actual fights? I mean, what's your record as an MMA fighter?
Legally or
both? Both.
Well, I'm undefeated illegally.
I love it.
But legally, I've been in there with a few guys. A lot of what happens is it's hard to find big bodies sometimes, right? So whether a guy's in the UFC or he's fighting with Lights Out or a boxer, I got a chance to spar like James the Beast Wilson. I've been in there with probably about 10 pros. So it's hard to find another big body. So since I'm already in there training, they need another big body. I'll hop in there and I'll go, 3-5 rounds, whatever it is, and just get some good work.
And have you let me ask you a question. I know with Lights Out, you're looking for like football players to fight in Lights Out. I mean, that's like one of the things you're looking for. What football players are like fighting right now? What anybody we know that's in Lights Out that have been in the NFL?
Yeah, we have Chris McCain. He's a former linebacker for the Chargers and pass rusher. Played, I think, for the Dolphins and the Colts or something like that. He had a short stint. So this guy is a monster. He's 6'5", 225, 230 pounds, and has a reach across the room. And he's very John Jones built, like his structure. He might even be 6'6". But he's just a hell of an athlete. And if he keeps on, he can be a world champ one day. We have a couple more guys that's transitioning over from NFL and rugby. And I'm talking to a few former NHL guys right now too, because these guys still train. They still like to get after it. And they've been training either some form of jiu-jitsu or boxing or whatever, and they're picking up on everything else.
Shawn, tell us about your podcast. I want to hear more about kind of who do you have on? What kinds of things do you talk about?
We talk NFL, NASCAR, because I'm a huge NASCAR fan too. I actually owned a team on the Can-In series for a little bit of time. We talk we talk some college too, and once in a while we'll hop on and talk business stuff with athletes or whatnot. We just had who's on today? Max from the Raiders, the defensive end. He came on last week. We had Brian Cushing on, Mojo from the WWE. And I mean, just Titus O'Neil we've had on, Mercedes Lewis. I mean, you name it. We had some great guests on, man. And it's always a cool conversation because a lot of these guys you either know in person or you know them through social media, but you never really have a 20 or 25-minute conversation with them. And so much stuff comes out that you don't know about these guys. And you're like, damn, I didn't know that. So all of it gets a chance to come out.
So recently, I watched the Conor McGregor fight. I mean, that was hard to watch. Horrible injury. I mean, horrible. I don't wish that on anybody. But do you think he should retire? Do you think his days are over in the UFC, or do you think he should just keep collecting checks?
No, I mean, and at this point, and it's hard because I had this conversation the other day about people say Floyd Mayweather, and he said something on the lines of Floyd Mayweather needed the money, and I said, what are you talking about? I said, what? But when you're a fighter, or look, if I can go back and play football right now, I probably would. I mean, I honestly would at least give it a shot, right? But I've had some injuries, you're older and stuff like that. It's much harder to make a NFL team than it is to go fight. So if you have an opportunity to still fight, not only just because of the paycheck, but it's in your blood to do. And if you're talking about Conor McGregor, what else is he going to do where he's going to make, upwards of 20-something million dollars in one night and train for, a couple of months? There's nothing else out here where he's going to make that type of money. And so it's not like he's a, doctor or lawyer or whatever the case is where you have this 50, you can work for 50 years in the industry. So if he can get another opportunity right now, obviously the fan base is still there. And more importantly, I think he looked great before the injury.
He's a great fighter.
I thought he looked great. I was waiting for that fight to get in the second round to see what happened.
I agree with you, but what's your opinion on this? I mean, I'm a big boxing enthusiast. I love boxing. I watched it since I was a kid. I watched the ESPN Thursday night fights. I watched many fights. I keep them like on videotape in my office. But that all being said, what do you think about these celebrities fighting Floyd Mayweather? Or, I mean, do you think it's just taking away from boxing and it's making more of a circus out of it? Or what's your whole thought on it? I
think it's completely separate from anything when you're talking about boxing. And in fact, if it's done right, if you got the right promotion that's doing it, it should only enhance boxing, right? Because you're bringing a new set of eyeballs. So you have those, what we call them freak shows, right? You want to, you know what I call these things is car accidents, right? So you ever go on the highway when it's traffic on your side, but you're like, why the hell is this traffic? And you get up and there's a accident on the other side of the highway. You're like, why are they slowing down over here? People going to slow down to watch the accident. And that's what these celebrity fights and all this stuff is. They're accidents, and regardless of all the shit that people talk about it, they're still buying the pay-per-views because they like to see accidents. And that's what's happening. And so if it's done right, you put some of the best up-and-coming guys on that card, and then you put a Logan Paul against a Floyd Mayweather. You do those things, and you enhance the game of boxing because that guy who would have never seen this amount of fans now has new fans.
Well, Shawn, we want to thank you for coming on. I wondered, is there any event coming up in Lights Out that you want to promote?
Yes, August 7th at the Commerce Casino.
August 7th. I'll be there, Shawn. I'll be there. I live in LA. I'm very familiar with Commerce Casino. I've seen fights at Hollywood Park. Never seen it at Commerce, but I'll be there. I'll be supporting. Don't worry.
All right, we're gonna light that place up, man. So come on through, and
I might get in the ring. I might get in the ring. You don't know what Ross the Boss will do. Trust me.
Come on, we come take a jab. Let's see what you got.
You don't know what there you go.
All right, guys, it was a pleasure, Shawn, having you on. 3-time Pro Bowler. Now you're creating your own fight league. You got your own podcast, Lights Out. Thank you so much for taking the time with us, Shawn.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.